you dedicated 1987 Amongst the Living to Cliff Burton. You know, how did that affect your guys' momentum going forward?
Yeah, I mean, well, we were there in '86. We were on tour with Metallica in the UK. I mean, it was a full European thing going on. They were on Master of Puppets. We were on Spreading the Disease, and it was that we had finished the whole UK leg of the tour, and it was going great. You know, it was still kind of new everywhere. You know, the fact that even Metallica and Anthrax were selling out these venues in September of '86. It was a big deal. And we got over to Europe, and we played Norway, and then we got to Sweden, and we played the show as like some sports hall in Sweden, and that was the first night we left before Metallica. We used to hang around every night, watch the show, and then hang out together after, and then buses would usually roll together to the next place. And but for some reason we left early that night. I think because they said there was possibly going to be weather from Sweden down to Copenhagen, and so we took off early. Remember, we like saying goodbye, and we got in the next morning. We were actually parked in front of the hotel in Copenhagen, and my my personal story, I'm sure everyone has their own on this one. I remember walking into the hotel lobby to try and find a bathroom, and I saw our tour manager, Mark Sokol, talking to some guy, and I just walked over, and Mark's like, there's some, we have crazy news. Metallica's bus crashed last night, and um, uh, the show's canceled tonight. And I'm like what? I'm still waking up, you know, and
Mhm.
what? And yeah, the bus crashed, and Cliff Burton was killed in the accident. And it's like I wasn't even hearing him. And then the promoter guy chimed in too. He said, "Yeah, we got the call from emergency services, and everyone's trying to figure out what to do." And you know, it just hit me like a ton of bricks right there. Well, is everyone else okay? And they said, "Oh, Lars had like a broken toe or something," and all the guys would be showing up later, and it was just this unreal, you know. Uh, you feel like you're in a bubble. You know what it's like being on tour. You kind of feel invincible a little bit. Who'd ever heard of a bus accident? You know, a bus flipping over and someone getting thrown out the window. That just wasn't a part of any of my reality. Um, so yeah, obviously everything was canceled and shut down, and we all went home. And uh, it was devastating. You know, we had become brothers over the last 4 years. You know, with Cliff, with the Metallica guys, and it was brutal. I think a lot of that energy went into Among the Living. A lot of that tragedy, a lot of that energy helped make that record what it was, because we really wanted to scream at the world because of what happened to our friend, and a lot of that came out on that album.
Your logo also was influential. The typeset, to me, myself and Hank did Public Enemy marketing after being inspired by Iron Maiden. But also, we always liked your graphics, and we like the sequencing and the never letting the story stop type of thing. And your font and your graphics and your album themes running concurrently, you know, has also been a turn on for the fans alike, you know. So where did that
Uh,
come?
the, the album covers just I don't know where they came from, but they just came. And the best part of it was working with record company art departments that were, um, these were the people who did Back in Black, Led Zeppelin 4, these iconic, you know, looking covers. So it was great to work with them. I mean, my favorite cover was Among the Living. And it's become very, very iconic. I've seen other people do takes from that, like um, just even in the Star Wars, I saw like them do a version of Star Wars with all of the stormtroopers, and there's just a one red stormtrooper that it looks very much like Among the Living. But that cover was probably one of my favorites, and everything from persistence to spreading, they all have some sort of you know Anthrax thing about them. When you walk down the when you would walk down the store in Tower and you'd see the Anthrax section, you could look and just the album covers told the story. You know, that was a big thing to me. The album cover, just it had to look amazing.
We
That's
were,
where it all comes from.
we were kind of
What song?
lucky with the logo because the guy, when we were making the first album, we went through a couple of different iterations of the logo until we came up with the logo,
Right.
which we were really happy about. I don't know that any of us were ever too thrilled with the actual
Cover.
artwork on the cover
Yeah.
of Fistful of Metal, but we got a great logo out of it. So
Yeah.
But a logo is so important. It represents the band. You know, if there's no picture of the band and there's that logo, man, that's all you need, and it gets people excited. You know, if I saw the Kiss logo somewhere without seeing the picture of the band, it'd be like, yes, you know, it does something. So yeah, that logo, I thought it was one of the best logos, to be honest with
Yeah, it's nice to be able to read the damn thing.
yeah.
you.
You know, a lot of bands you don't even know what you're reading. You're like, what does it say?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, your guys' stuff stand out in every department. What song in your set that you say, oh shit, let's get ready. We gotta brace up for this. We gotta kind of like store and stock up for this because it's gonna come right back at us like we're gonna put it out. And what song do you kind of like dread, like yeah,
In what way, Chuck?
Huh? Say what?
There's certain, sometimes you dread certain things because maybe it's not as popular and you feel a little bit more uncomfortable with it, or it's just something you played so much and you don't feel like playing it. There's a lot of different scenarios that go into like having a song that might be a
I remember
bother
when
to you.
Yeah, when we did that whole Among the Living record thing, all the songs together, I remember that heart of it all, that whole song. I used to feel that beforehand. I used to dread coming up to that song. It just felt like it was forever. The song it was like, oh my God, this is still another verse to go. Sometimes it was a rough one, but on the other side of it, the thing that gets me going is like a caught in a mosh. That just gets me pumped, starts the show a lot of the times, and it just gets you charged up. This.
I mean,
A
Go,
song
Charlie.
that happens to do it by itself, and you just press the button and go, and here it goes. And like, okay, now I could kind of like store up my energy for this song that I know I have to kind of get focused and go at, because that song is pretty much going to do itself, right? You get that.
Oh yeah. But you also have to understand that one thing, we take these songs very, we're pretty they're personal songs. So some nights, or let's say we've been doing a song for years, and then sometimes you just don't want to play it anymore. But you have to also remember that the person that's going to come and see you the next night hasn't heard this song in forever. So you have to play that song. It's a staple in your set. And we've played the song Antisocial probably every show since we recorded it. And yeah, we're kind of burnt on that song too, but it's a part of it.
Yeah, I always try and look at it from the audience's point of view because, it's for them, it's new. So you got to make it new every night. That's I never like to think of this as a job, but it is part of what we do. And that is, getting up there and making it new every night. So like that crowd that's coming on a Tuesday, they didn't see the Saturday night show. They didn't know that, well, fuck, Saturday night in Chicago was the best show of the tour. And now we're in we're in Akron on a Tuesday. And it's not nearly the same energy or as good, but they weren't in Chicago. So I got to be the same guy that was in Chicago. You know what I mean?
At the end of the day, it's not about us. It's about really building the energy with the crowd and making them have the best time. Let's have a great time together. And that's what I do every night. I try to just make everybody have a good time regardless. I mean, yeah, we played Antisocial a zillion times, but whatever. I'm going to live like it's my first time playing it because I want you to have a good time with it.
You got to remember too, some of the older songs that we maybe played, staples of the set that people expect you to play, the so-called the hits. One thing about those songs is it's like you said, they can carry themselves. And also just from a playing point of view, a lot of those songs are actually just easier to play than some of the other stuff. Like a song like Madhouse or Medusa, that's a 4.5 minute break for my hands, essentially, because they're so much easier to play than like 10 of the other songs. So it's good to have those songs in the set dynamically, you know?
And for me, it's the opposite. Slower songs take more energy. Don't ask me why. The faster ones are just like, okay, that's easy. I guess because they end quicker than the slower songs.
This is just for like those that probably haven't heard the story. Remember the year that the anthrax powder was used in some kind of, like, they used it as a biological, I think put it in the envelopes. You guys were getting the first calls. I mean, that was kind of crazy. What the fuck, right? Explain that. What happened?
That was right after 9/11, right? In the wake of that.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
when all that happened.
Didn't it go up to Tom Brokaw or something at Dirty Rock?
You know, what was crazy was walking around. I'd be walking through the city, and as you pass every newsstand you'd pass, I'd see the name of the band on every newspaper, Time magazine, across the board. I'm just used to periphery. You see the name, you see the name of your band, you kind of look to see what it's about. And it was constantly happening to me. And of course, it was never about the band. It was only about the powder in the envelopes. And crazy enough, through that whole thing, through something that was obviously such a horrible thing, because I mean, a few people died when that was going on. Our album sales were going up week after week, because I think suddenly people see the name everywhere and they're like, Anthrax, wait, the band? What happened? Powder? But it reminded people, I think, and in a crazy way, it weirdly turned into a positive for us in a weird, and that's not to take away or make light of the scenario in any way, but we just kind of kept our mouths shut about the whole thing. We were getting hit up by everyone to talk about it. Are you going to change the name of the band? You're going to change the name of the band. And it wasn't until we got a call to be on the Jay Leno show and do like a sketch with Gilbert Gottfried, where we were basically making fun of it. And that's when we knew, well, if Jay Leno's making jokes about it on the Tonight Show, I think we're in the clear. And we don't have to change the name.
Well, there was even a time with the CNN ticker. Remember, you said that you mentioned something. We're going to change our name to Basket Full of Puppies, in jest, of course.
Yeah.
And they put it on the ticker there. So that was, just another one of those great things that news.
That was the early days of websites. And I used to put a little blog up on our website about what was going on. And I had seen on CNN, on the ticker on the bottom, it said heavy metal band Anthrax to change name to Basket Full of Puppies. And I couldn't believe it, because just the day before I had made a joke on the website talking about the Anthrax thing going on in the world. And I jokingly said, we're changing the name of the band to Basket Full of Puppies. And then the next sentence was, it really sucks that I even have to make a joke about this. But someone at CNN obviously never even read the next sentence, because they just saw the one thing and put it up there. And I wish we would have at least made T-shirts at some point, a Basket Full of Puppies.
Guys, tell me about the feeling. I'm a Met fan, but tell me about the feeling of being inside Yankee Stadium, the Big Four show. I mean, sometimes you could go to a spot and it's so surreal. I mean, there's places I've played where I kind of don't even remember after I left the stage. I'm like, did I just do that? Was it one of those moments for you guys? Like, did that just happen? Did we float through the set? Did I do the best job that I think I did? Like, what the fuck just happened?
Well, send it to Charlie and Frankie first, because even that day we got the Anthrax day in the Bronx, and you're talking to two Bronx dudes.
It was very surreal. The whole day was surreal. For me, look, that's the place. You're a Met fan, Chuck. We're obviously diehard Yankee fans. Just to do on those those grounds alone, my God. And even though that's the new stadium and all that stuff, I won't go into that. But I got to sit in the dugout, and then the dugout in Yankee Stadium, the Yankee dugout, I got to sit in. That was big for me. I really didn't care about the show at that point. It's like, I'm in the Yankee dugout right now. And then I remember, I don't know if I told you this, Scott. I wanted to dive into second base. It was all covered that day. And the security guy, as I got my foot onto the fence to go on, I was just about to just make a scramble for it. The guy just, you will be arrested. I don't care what band you're in. You'll go to jail. You'll miss your show. He gave me the riot act, man. I was going to do it, but apparently the bands weren't allowed to slide.
The Yankee Stadium was the culmination of, you know, I mentioned Madison Square Garden, but we never, any of us in the band ever thought that we would touch that. And it was such a, I remember that day was just so crazy. It was a bit stressful because the family and friends, but the one thing that I remember from it was like, that was the last show that my mom got to see. So she saw it go from nothing to that. And that's all I remember. I don't remember anything about the show. I just remember after the show hanging with them all and her being so happy. So that's what that day meant to me. I could care less about music that day, you know, just about that.
Same thing. It was just the idea, like Charlie was saying, that we would ever touch Yankee Stadium, not because we wouldn't get big enough to maybe play a stadium show, but you know, they don't really do shows at Yankee Stadium. I think I think I looked it up when it was confirmed that we were doing it. Like the last shows before we did our show there on the Big Four was like the Pope and Paul McCartney. Like they don't hardly ever do shows at Yankee Stadium. It's usually would be mostly you go out to Jersey and you do Giant Stadium. But when they confirmed it was Yankee Stadium, I mean, God, what an unbelievable idea. Like the fact that I was at the 77 World Series. I was at the game that Reggie hit 3 home runs at. Like, and again, even
That's
then
awesome.
I didn't run on the field because I saw guys getting hit with nightsticks. But the idea that I'm going to be standing on a stage in center field, like where Mickey Rivers was fucking like my fucking heroes, you know, like played baseball. I was so nervous, and I generally don't get nervous before shows. And we walked up, we were standing behind the back line like 5 minutes before the intro is going to roll. And goddamn, if I couldn't feel my hands, it was like pins and needles. Like I had been sitting on them for 20 minutes. Literally, I was panicking because I can't feel my hands. I'm so goddamn nervous. And Randy Johnson, you know, the pitcher, Randy Johnson was standing there because in his spare time, because he's a huge metal guy and he's a really good photographer. So he was coming up to shoot the show. And I walked over to Randy because he had pitched many high pressure games in Yankee Stadium in his life. And I walked over to Randy and I said, dude, I'm kind of shitting my pants. Like, what have you done when you got bases loaded and you gotta get this next man out? You know, like, what do you do? He goes, I just put my fucking head down and do my job. And I was like, all right. And I did. And dude, we walked out on that stage and we started caught in a mosh and I started crying, like just fucking tears running down my face for a solid minute and a half at caught in a mosh. And I'm headbanging so nobody could tell, but the emotions coming at me for the idea that we got to fucking do this, like in our hometown, Mecca for us. It was just such an unbelievable moment.
And one thing I just want to touch on once more, you know, we made these songs, we created these songs. We had, you know, we had no idea where these songs would take us. That's the one thing about it. So we always have to pay tribute to these things that happen. And these songs happen for us in such a way that it took us to places like Yankee Stadium. So the next time we don't want to play a song, I'm going to go, well, wait a minute. That fucking song took us to Yankee Stadium. We have to play that.
I haven't met Robert Plant, but, you know, Joey was the first rock vocalist that I was in awe, shaking my head like, how the fuck does he be on top of all that sea of this tornado? And he just kind of like, it was like you were riding the fucking storm, Joey, every fucking night. I was in awe.
Thanks, Chuck. Cool. We felt the same way about you guys, man.
You know, when we were looking for a singer after Fistful of Metal, and you know, obviously Metallica, Slayer, Megadeth, they had already, you know, everyone already had their first albums out. And you know, Motorhead was one of our favorite bands, and you know, we all loved bands like that all had singers or frontmen that not weren't necessarily singers in the Rob Halford or Bruce Dickinson, you know, or Ian Gillan, or, you know, on and on, like Phil Mogg, or just, you know, the scenes that started, that aggression that had come in the music also started to change the vocal type, mainly probably because of Lemmy, because of Motorhead's huge influence, you know. So then you had someone like James, who back in the day, that was considered extreme. You know, when Kill 'Em All came out, those type of vocals were extreme vocals. Tom Araya's vocals when Slayer started, that was considered extreme. You listen to it now, it's like, how is that ever extreme? But in 1984, it was very extreme. Kronos probably being the epitome, you know, of
Right.
that. But we were always, as much as we loved that kind of stuff, and I was a fan of all of that stuff, the vision for Anthrax as a band was, we wanted a singer. We wanted a singer in the vein of Halford and Bruce and Ronnie. I missed Ronnie earlier. That to me, in my mind, always was, that defined what being in a heavy metal band: 2 guitars, bass, drums, vocals, and it's got to be a dude that can do like what Rob and Bruce and Ronnie do. And as much as I loved all of that, all the hardcore and all of that stuff, that's never what I heard as in my mind is what Anthrax sounds like in my mind. It always was going to be a vocalist. So when Joey walked in and got on the mic that first day and, you know, just started singing, he didn't know our songs or anything. He just started singing stuff. We all looked at each other and were like, nobody has a guy like this. Like, this is it. Yeah, the fucking bells were going off.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was like, we knew, like, we found our guy. I think Carl Kennedy, he was producing Spreading the Disease. You know, he looked at me, he goes, you guys found your Halford right there. There he is.
Coming into Anthrax was definitely a different kind of group. The speed of it all and stuff, but yet it was an all original band, and it was quite unique. So just to walk in and just start singing, and even to me, it was something new to hear myself and what kind of style I really had, because I hadn't done a lot of originals at that point. I mean, I was basically doing covers, but some originals, but nothing extensively like what they were doing. So I got to hear myself for the first time, and it just felt natural.
Yeah, this is a precarious time, and Anthrax 40 is a very important 40-year period, and just in music, past, present, and future. You know,
Yeah.
you guys have pioneered a road that many are riding on, that they, a lot of them had a year to study, to study exactly the groups that they looked at, inspired by, and want to be able to do some similar things. And we're all thankful for that. It made a lot of people actually look into the dynamic of what makes, you know, great acts great.
I mean, for me, it's turning 40, you know, it's not about the work ethic. It's not about the discipline. Yeah, I've had so much time to think about this, and it's, you know, we love what we do, and I think with that love comes you know, a bottomless pit of discipline and will and work ethic. You know what I mean? Like, because if you love it, then you want to do it. You always want to do it. And people always ask, how long do you think you'll be doing this for? 10 more years, 20 more years? I'm like, I love it. I can't answer that question. That would be like asking me, how long are you going to stay with your wife? Like, I love her. It's an endless, bottomless pit of energy you could pull from when you love something so much. And I think that's really, you know, where it comes from for me. Like, I don't know where I'm going with this, honestly, but
Oh, you're hitting on the fire. I mean, we're celebrating our 40th, but for me, this is like I'm starting again right now. Like, we have this little break, man, and you'll lighten the fire. I have no intention of stopping Anthrax. Anthrax is a force in my life and a lot of people's lives. I can't wait to see what the hell comes out of it, because I'm a fan. Aside from being in the band, I love what we do, and we're very lucky to be doing what we're doing, and that's the truth. And look, we feel good about it. We make people feel good. We have this joint energy. I want to put it out there because it just go out there and just make people feel good with music. That's what's important.
Yeah,
We've got a fresh start. We can do whatever we want to do and do it right. So it'll be no problem. It's just you had to wait, basically where we're at.
that makes me feel good. I mean, because whenever you see another situation and you see the familiar faces and you see the camaraderie, it shines off on another squad. Like, yeah, I feel that way too about you guys, and thanks for the inspiration. It's been a pleasure. I'm going to move on to my thing, but just to be invited by you guys to do this, I'm thankful.
Thank you.
And I'm humbled by it. I'm like kind of like, why me? But then, hey, man, I step right up to the plate whenever you guys call me.